Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Imagine If. As I look at every single Spider Man timeline, I always see one special person being bitten by the spider instead of the classic Peter Parker. But then I thought, why not two people being bitten by the radioactive spider? I was thinking of making a story about Sam Raimi's Peter Parker trying to be a superhero with Peter's pain in the neck bully from school. Yes, you heard me right. His bully. I am talking about imagine if Peter Parker and Flash Thompson were bitten by the spider in Sam Raimi's Spider Man. How would the Sam Raimi timeline change with two masked vigilantes that have exactly the opposite of each other? Sit back, relax, and let us explore this fascinating Imagine If. This story will first start like how it usually happens in Sam Raimi's story of Peter being bitten by the genetically modified spider at the Columbia University Genetics Laboratory. But in this timeline, that path is going to have a different outcome. While the class is taking the tour, Peter takes a glance at Mary Jane Watson, someone that he had a crush on ever since they were kids. MJ also got a glance at Peter, but Peter looked away right when they made eye contact. Harry elbowed Peter in the arm and asked him why he was being such a coward and not talking to her. Peter tells him that he doesn't have the courage to, and that also he doesn't know if it was a good idea if Flash Thompson was around. Where MJ was going, Flash followed like the boyfriend he is to her. Harry tells Peter that he should at least try and he'll help him get a chance to talk with MJ. Peter asked how he is supposed to know when to go in, and Harry said with a smirk to just keep his eyes open. As the class came across the section full of genetically modified spiders, Harry walked in between MJ and Flash, giving Peter the signal with a wink. As MJ is getting a closer look at the spiders, Harry blocks Flash's way to keep up with her. With that much support from Harry, Peter felt more confident, and he went to where MJ was. Peter asked her as he was making his way to her standing if she liked the spiders. MJ said that she finds them gross, but also fascinating on how each one uses their talents for different things. Peter agreed with her, explaining how they used many spiders' DNA to put it in just one, to make it have many abilities like no other spider. MJ looked at Peter and asked him if they ever met before. Peter froze there, saying that she lives next to his Uncle Ben and Aunt May's place for years, so they've been neighbors without knowing each other very much. MJ said that she is Mary Jane Watson with a hand extended to him. Peter smiled and said that he is Peter Parker, and they shook hands. Flash saw all of this, and he pushed Harry out of his way. He made his way to Peter and MJ, telling Peter to get away from MJ or else he is going to get a knuckle sandwich. Flash raised his fist, showing that he was very serious. MJ told him to just cool off and that they were just talking, but Flash didn't really care what MJ was saying at this point. Peter told Flash that they were just talking, and Flash said to Peter that he will be talking with his fist here in a minute. Harry grabbed Flash by the shoulder, saying that he had gone way too far. Flash punched Harry in the face as everyone was watching. Peter pushed Flash from behind, telling him that he is acting like an idiot to everyone around, like he doesn't care at all. Flash turned to Peter, saying to him as he was taking off his jacket that he was going soft on him, but now he is going to get it. Flash raised his fists and punched Peter in the face. Peter fell back against the containers of spiders and his glasses were cracked. Flash was about to take a swing, but Peter dodged it, seeing a couple of seeing a couple of containers fall over, making two of the spiders fall out. MJ yelled at Flash to knock it off, but Flash's mind was so enraged that he accidentally hit her. MJ fell to the ground, horrified. Harry came over to her, asking her if she was all right. MJ said that Flash had just turned into a freak. Flash didn't notice, and he punched Peter in the face again and again, making Peter fall on the table with the containers of the other spiders. One of the spiders was on the table, and it went over to Peter's hand and bit him. Peter screamed from the pain while his face was bruised. He tried to smack the pain off, but he was so weak from the bruises he was receiving from Flash. The other spider was loose on the ground, and it made its way to Flash, crawling up Flash's leg, coming onto Flash's side of his neck, biting him. Flash felt the sting like it was like a bee, and he smacked the spider, killing it. This made Flash come back to his calm and normal state, seeing what he has done. He beat up Peter in front of his friends and everyone, and also punched his girlfriend without even noticing it. Harry and MJ went over to Peter, helping him up. The teacher came over and told Flash to come with him. Flash got his jacket and looked back at MJ, with MJ saying to Flash that she thought he was good, but he is just a bully. They were through. Harry and MJ escorted their wounded friend Peter, and everyone stopped the field trip from there, going back to their homes early. Harry told his father's butler Bernard to tell his father that he was going to take care of something, and he will be back home later. Their teacher called up Flash's parents, explaining what Flash had done during their field trip. With this result and the field trip being canceled, Flash was suspended from school for the whole week. Flash couldn't believe this, but he also couldn't believe one of the genetic spiders bit him. He looked at his neck, or he tried to feel it, feeling something off, but he also felt that there was also a bite on his hand. 2 bites in one made him very dizzy. He just hoped that nothing bad would happen later on. The bus came to Peter and MJ's houses, and Peter, Harry, and MJ came out, going into the Parker residence. Uncle Ben and Aunt May saw them come from the trip early, seeing their nephew injured. Aunt May asked in horror what happened, and MJ said that her boyfriend made a terrible view of himself, and she dumped him. Uncle Ben got the first aid kit from upstairs and bandaged Peter's wounded and blooded face. Harry gave Aunt May Peter's broken glasses, saying that the teacher gave Peter a few days break to give him time to heal. Aunt May thanked Harry and MJ for helping their nephew come back to them safely. Uncle Ben patted Peter on the shoulder, saying that he just needs rest and there is no need to worry about school. Peter agreed to it and said that he'll go to his room. As Peter's walking up the stairs, MJ felt terrible inside of her, like she was part of this somehow. She wanted to at least repay Peter for what happened, but she didn't know how to yet. She went back to her place, feeling terrible and miserable for what happened to someone that just wanted to hang out with her. As Peter made it to his room, he looked at his hand, seeing the spider's bite blowed up. Peter laid down and rested as he felt dizzy and unable to move. The next morning, he wakes up, feeling his face no longer wounded or anything. He took off the bandages, seeing that his face was completely healed. He then took off his shirt and saw that his body was pretty built. He wondered how these miracles were even possible. He felt good that he wanted to go to school at this point. He went over to get his things for school, and he looked through his window, seeing MJ getting ready for school. Peter quickly got his shirt on and called out her name. MJ opened her window and saw Peter feeling better. She smiled with joy, asking him how he was feeling. Peter said to her that he is feeling great, feeling ready for school. MJ said to Peter that if he is feeling better, then she'll see him in the school bus. Peter smiled and said that he'll see her in a minute. He went over to the door and was going to open it, but the handle got crushed. He saw this and his eyes were wide open. He wondered how he crushed it like it was simple paper. He slowly touched the handle again and opened the door, walking downstairs with his backpack on his back. Uncle Ben sees Peter and asks how he was feeling. Peter tells his Uncle Ben that he feels great and he is going to go to school. Aunt May asked Peter as Peter was going out the door if he needed lunch, but Peter said that he'll pay. At Flash's home, Flash wakes up when a fly lands on his forehead. Flash quickly jumped and landed on the ceiling with a fly caught in his hand. He looked around, wondering why everything was upside down. He saw that he was sticking to the ceiling, kind of like a spider. He saw the fly in his hand and found it dead. His hand released from the ceiling and he fell on the floor. He quickly got up and rubbed his aching back while looking up at his room ceiling, wondering how in the world he did that. He then remembered the spider that bit him. He remembered bringing it home. He looked everywhere for it. He wanted to know where it was. After so much time searching, he found the dead spider. From finding the spider, he had the belief that it was the spider that gave him the ability to stick to the ceiling, have incredible agility, and have quick reflexes, along with having some kind of a sense that warns him of things. He decided to go out and wonder what other abilities he has since he was suspended from school. He got out of the house and went through the city downtown. He went into one of the alleyways and climbed up to the top of the building. He looked over to the building across from him, and he knew what he could try out first. Back at the school, Peter is in the cafeteria finding a place to sit. He found Harry and he sat with him. MJ had her lunch and she saw Peter and Harry. She made her way to their table. Peter was in the middle of a conversation with Harry, but their conversation was interrupted when Peter felt a warning in his mind, like something was going to happen. He turns his head and sees MJ slipping on a puddle of spilled orange juice. Peter quickly jumped out of his seat and caught MJ in one hand and caught MJ's tray on the other. He caught all of MJ's food on the tray, and MJ was very surprised to see Peter in a very good condition. MJ and Peter took a seat, having their lunch. Harry asked Peter how he knew MJ was going to slip on something, and Peter said to them that when he woke up this morning, his bruises were gone, his body was different, and when he was going to go open his door, the doorknob crushed. He didn't know how he healed so fast in less than 24 hours, but he knew that it had to do with the spider that bit him. MJ asked if it was during the field trip from yesterday. Peter nodded, and the three looked at each other, with Peter saying that he believes that he was bitten by one of the genetically modified spiders that fell out of those knocked over the containers. Harry said that if it was the spider, then he must have some kind of powers that a spider has. Peter told them that they should look into this after school. At Flash's side of finding out more of his powers, he found out that he could jump at great heights, have super strength, and he could shoot out organic webs from his wrists. This made Flash feel incredible, that he could do everything like a spider. He thought that he could use his powers to see how good he could do in a fight. He could sure use a warm-up. He swung by one of the newspaper stands and snatched a newspaper to see if he could find anything that involved fighting. he came across in the newspaper an ad that talked about a wrestling match and that whoever wins can get $3,000. The ad also said that masked people are needed to join the match. Flash found this as a good idea, and he thought of finding himself a mask to hide his identity. He went back to his home and got his sunglasses, taking out the lenses. He then got a red cloth and cut out holes in it to put the lenses in it. He put it on and he felt that he was pretty much prepared. He opened his window and swung to the address where the wrestling match was going to take place. Meanwhile, Peter, Harry, and MJ were on top of one of the buildings, and Peter showed and experienced all of his powers to his friends. He thought of trying these powers out with somebody or something. Harry said that he looked in the ads on the newspaper for fun and saw that there was a wrestling match that was going to take place tonight. And it said that if they enter the ring for at least 3 minutes, then he could win $3,000. Peter thought of this to be a great idea, and he said that he'll think about a way to keep his identity secret so that they can accept him in the ring. Peter swung away back to his place, saying to Harry and MJ that he'll meet them again in a few hours. While all of this was happening, at Oscorp, Norman was able to find a way to complete the super soldier serum, or basically the serum that the military wanted. Basically, in this timeline, Norman bonded and got help from a famous man named Wilson Fisk. Fisk gave Norman the materials and money he needed to find the exact minerals and ingredients to make this serum. It was all ready. Norman knows that when the serum is injected into a man, it would cause severe pain, but afterwards receive the very superpowers of a true soldier. The general and the other leaders of the military, along with the board members, were all in the room, watching as Norman came forth to show the experiment of the super soldier serum. Since no one volunteered, Norman decided to try the serum on himself. He got help from one of the assistants and went in a container where the main event was taking place. Everyone came to the container and watched as the assistant put the serum in a machine to turn it into gas. The gas went all over Norman, and it went into his nostrils and then into his bloodstream. As Norman's body started to change, Norman started to shake intensely, and he screamed in pain. One of the board members told the assistant to shut it down, and the assistant did. The moment the machine turned off, Norman was unmovable. The container doors opened, and the assistant went in to try to wake Norman up. As everyone checked to see if Norman could still be alive from this pain, one of the board members walked out of there and closed everyone in the room. Everyone saw and wondered what he was thinking, and then the whole room blew up in an explosion and extreme heat. The board member smirked and said that the plan was going correctly. His boss will now take over Oscorp. The board member took his face off, showing his white and pale face. In the underground wrestling area, Harry and MJ walk in there, meeting up with Peter. They all saw the champion, Bonesaw, throw the challenger out of the ring, knocking the challenger out. Harry asked Peter if he got a suit, and Peter took his clothes off, showing his wrestling suit. Harry and MJ were quite impressed, and they told Peter good luck. Peter went to sign up while Harry and MJ were taking their seats. Ahead of the sign-up line, Flash signed up, and he was gonna fight against Bonesaw next. His mask was on, and he had a long black sleeve shirt on. The announcer in the ring said to everyone that there is someone that calls himself the Spider, and he is going to challenge their champion, Bonesaw. The curtains opened, and it showed the Spider in his red mask with black eyes and the long black sleeve shirt. Flash came forth and went into the ring, telling Bonesaw that he was going down. Bonesaw said that he likes the attitude. And then steel walls came down and everyone shouted out, "Cage match." Flash wasn't expecting this, but with walls around, he can show everyone his moves. As the bell rang, Bonesaw charged at his opponent, and Flash did a backflip, kicking Bonesaw in the face. Bonesaw fell back and quickly got up, telling Flash that he was going to break him hard. Flash raised his fist and said to Bonesaw that he is thinking the same thing. Bonesaw charged again, and Flash gave Bonesaw a jab to the face, making Bonesaw's nose bleed. Flash then jumped in the air, grabbing Bonesaw by the shoulders and smashed him to the ground. The crowd started to cheer for the Spider, and Flash shouted that he is number one. Bonesaw was slowly getting up while grabbing a chair and was about to hit Flash with it. Flash felt his spider sense going off, and Flash turned, getting hit across the face with the chair. He fell to the ground, and Bonesaw hit Flash with the chair over and over again. He threw the chair away and picked Flash up, about to throw Flash to the wall of the cage match. But Flash shot a web at Bonesaw's face and grabbed Bonesaw's head, slamming Bonesaw down on the ground again. Bonesaw was slowly getting up, and Flash gave Bonesaw a headlock, with Flash's arms around his neck. As Bonesaw is gasping for air, he slams the ground, saying that he gives up. The referee came into the ring and announced that the Spider was the winner. The Spider pulled his mask off and cheered in the air for his victory. When Harry and MJ saw this, they were very shocked. Flash had the powers that Peter had. And they knew at that moment that Flash was also bitten by the Spider yesterday at the field trip. Harry asked MJ if she thinks any more students were bitten by the spiders, but MJ denied it, saying that only Flash and Peter were by the containers of spiders. As Flash is celebrating, Peter is behind the curtains, seeing him. Peter looks down, seeing that someone else has beaten him to the money, and also that he isn't the only one that was after the money. He took his mask off and decided to leave the wrestling match, knowing that he failed. As Peter is leaving, Flash goes into a room where he thought he was going to get his $3,000. The man only gave Flash $200 and said to Flash that he could leave. Flash said that he needs $3,000, not just a simple $200. The man told Flash that he was supposed to beat Bonesaw in 3 minutes, but he won by Bonesaw giving up. So he should at least be glad that he received a little something. Flash told the man that he needs the money for something serious, but the man didn't listen. Flash left with the $200, and as he was leaving, Dennis Carradine told the man, while having a gun in one hand and a bag in the other, to give him the money. Harry and MJ are out on the sidewalk, trying to look for Peter, but Peter is nowhere to be found. Peter was above them on the rooftop, thinking about Flash. He asked himself what he is supposed to do now. He can't challenge Flash because Flash is now the new champion. Peter dropped the mask and watched as it fell down below to where Harry and MJ were at. MJ saw the mask hit the ground and she picked it up, showing Harry that it was Peter's. They both looked up and saw Peter web swing away. Flash is opening the elevator door and his spider senses go off. He turned around and heard a gunshot. He then sees Dennis running out with a guard telling Flash to stop the robber. Flash thought as Dennis was running by that if he takes down this robber, then he might get that money. As Dennis ran past Flash, Flash quickly shot 2 lines of clear webbing at Dennis and pulled him back. Flash then caught Dennis by the shirt in midair and slammed him to the ground, knocking him out. The guard came over and thanked Flash for this. The man that didn't give Flash the $3,000 came over as well, with his arm bleeding. The man thanked Flash, saying that he was wrong about him. He picked up the bag of money and gave it to Flash, saying that he does deserve the money. Flash smiled and took the bag, thanking the man. Flash then walked out of there and the elevator doors closed. Outside, Flint Marko was waiting for Dennis to come out, but he sees Flash with the bag of money instead. Flint quickly walks away, saying that Dennis failed to get the money, and he'll just have to do things on his own. Harry walks back to the Osborn residence to get ready for school tomorrow. Bernard comes into Harry's room and tells him that the leaders of the military and all of the board members were killed. Harry asks what he was talking about, and Bernard explains what happened, saying to Harry at the end that his father was dead.